All right, at this time, I will call cause numbers 97686E in the interest of Devin Cervantes, cause number 98956E in the interest of Dominic Cervantes Jr. All right, we are here today on adversary hearing in both cases. We are conducting this through Zoom, and we are live streaming, and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud today as I don't have a court reporter. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present ready.
Your Honor, I'm Tate Eldridge. I represent the mother, Kayla Price, on 97686, Devin Cervantes, and we're both present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of respondent father Dominic Cervantes in 097686. My client is present and we're ready to proceed.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
Okay.
I didn't say both numbers, but I assume you know I'm here on the other case too, Judge, right?
Yeah. All right, Mr. Trout, any announcements to make, or are we getting ready to just call it? And
We're just going to call it and do testimony.
okay. All right, then. Who's first witness?
I'll call Kayla Price first, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Price, if you will, please unmute and raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, you may proceed.
Ms. Price, would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Kayla Price.
And Ms. Price, are you the mother to Dominic and Devin?
Yes, sir. I am the mother to Dominic and Devin.
Okay. And you are aware of why we're here today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been kind of working with the department for quite a few months now, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Since February.
Okay. And we have not removed the children up until this point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There were some safety plans put in place with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were those safety plans violated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what led to this was an incident and kind of involving the kids being in a car with you and chasing some people. Is that why the intake was called in?
Yes, but they said that the removal was due to marks that I didn't explain on the children, and those marks were explained. I do have hospital paperwork, but the incident with the car was investigated by Amarillo Police Department. There was a body cam footage from the police officer and a 911 call.
Okay, hang on, Ms. Price. All right, let's get some ground rules real quick. All right, you need to listen to what he's asked you and answer only that. Okay. This goes question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. So just answer only what he's asked for.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Trout, you can ask your next question.
Thank you, Judge. So there was an incident with a car.
Yes, sir.
And the children were in the car.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you agree to not be around Anthony Campbell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you allowed him around?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was there a plan that Dad Dominic Cervantes was not allowed to take the children by himself?
Yes, sir.
And you allowed that?
No, sir.
Did he ever take the children by himself while you were under safety plans?
No, sir.
Was he ever around the children during that time?
No, sir.
Okay. have you been in contact with Anthony Campbell or any of his family members since the removal?
No, sir.
Have you sent messages to people, text messages?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To people in his family?
Yes, sir. Yeah, his mother. Yes, we talked.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, sir. I've talked to Anthony, yes, because I'm pregnant, but we haven't like been with each other, if that makes sense.
Okay. Have you showed up to Anthony's mother's work?
No, sir.
You've not been to the hotel that she works at?
No, sir.
And his sister, Tay?
His sister, he came to my apartment, which the police were called. He came to my apartment with his sister, Tay, and the cops were called over here.
Okay. What messages have you sent out to his mother?
There was one about my daughter having a heart murmur, and that was it.
Okay.
We talked briefly about that, but she said that what's it called? That both of her kids had them, and they just had a short conversation.
Okay. Any messages to any of his mother's friends?
No, sir.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to attempt to share something on the screen real quick.
Okay, let me enable it.
Okay.
That should be good.
Okay. Is this you?
Yes, sir.
And who did you send this to?
I have that. I've posted that on Snapchat before and on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. And is this you pointing a pistol?
Yeah, but it's fake. You could get it at the flea market just like that. So
Do the people you know that sent this to know that?
Objection. It calls for speculation.
All right, sustain.
Okay. To your personal knowledge, is there any way for anybody to know that that is a fake gun?
I mean, you could tell it's fake, but I guess not. I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, you could tell by a picture. I've posted it on Facebook. That picture is old of me, but I've posted that picture on Facebook, Snapchat. I believe it's still on my Instagram stories to this day. I still have it uploaded.
And is this the text messages you sent it to?
So, Your Honor, I'm going to object unless we have a time parameters here and we know.
What? And
Yeah.
that's what I'll ask, Your Honor.
Okay.
I can't even see anything. Like, it's so zoomed out. So is there any way you can like zoom in on it?
I will have
I'm on my phone. I'm not on a computer.
And Judge, I'm not sure if I can zoom this in or not.
And obviously the picture is from Snapchat. So, I mean, I don't even know. I have never even sent the picture to anybody, except it's been posted all over my social media.
So again, Your Honor, I object unless this has some direct affiliation with the children or the mother of this case. I mean, you could pull up Facebook posts for lots of people that say lots of things. That doesn't have anything to do with custody of a child.
Your Honor, it goes to her actions and the way that she acts. And I'll ask if this is her phone number at the top, showing that it is a text message from her.
Yes, sir. That is my phone number, but you can edit a contact to be any phone number you want. You can spoof any phone number you want. Like I said, that picture is months old and it's posted all over my social media. And obviously, whoever texted it, she said bitch, you're weird. You make up a lie. and
Objection,
believe
Your
it."
Honor. I'm not asking her to read it right now.
All right.
I just want to know, is it from her phone number?
Yes, that is my cell phone number. Yes, sir. That is my phone number. But like I said, you could change a phone number on any app you want to make it the contact number.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
The state, Ms. Price.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Question was, is that from your phone?
I never sent that picture to nobody. So.
All right.
So you did not have the conversation in these text messages?
No. That's why I'm saying that picture is from a long time ago. It's posted all over my social media.
Okay. Sorry, Your Honor, I got to get this to cut off real quick. Did it go away?
No, it's still there.
I can't. There it is. Okay. So throughout this case, we have worked with you as far as safety plans. That is correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've worked some services?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you start counseling?
Yes, sir.
And who did you do counseling with?
I do counseling with Christy Paddock.
Okay. How many sessions have you done with her?
3.
Okay. And you've done some parenting classes?
Yes, sir.
And you've done, was it 24 to 6 sessions of parenting? Is that right?
I've done Hope Choice and I'm still doing Love and Logic.
Okay. All right. How many sessions of the Love and Logic have you done?
I can't count. I'm sorry.
Okay. And so you agreed to work under the safety plans with the department, but you broke those safety plans.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during the incident with the car and Anthony Campbell, were the kids in car seats?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So multiple people saying that they were not is not correct?
No, sir.
And what was that about?
I had dropped Anthony off at his mother's house, and he had my house key, and I went to my mother's for a little bit, and then I went to go pick him up, but he had the house. He had the house key, and he wasn't answering. I called.
Okay, she's breaking up.
Yeah, I can't hear her, Judge.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Price.
He left as soon as
She's not going to be able to hear me either. So
he wasn't answering.
Ms.
I
Price,
waited.
Ms. Price,
I was waiting right there because I told Destiny, I was like, I don't have I can't even get into the house. And
Ms. Price, can you hear me?
Yeah, her video stopped on my end.
Okay, we lost her. I may just have to have her turn her video off.
So, Your Honor, I've got a little bit of an issue if we're going to go down this path. that I'll need to talk to my client, if you don't mind. So if we're going to get into details of this allegation, there's a police investigation. My client's been told there are going to be no charges filed, but if we're going to elicit testimony about it, I'm going to have to tell her until I know that it's completely closed out, that she can't answer any questions related to the specific incident. I'll let her answer about what was it about, but as far as anything after that, I've got to stop that based on the Fifth Amendment grounds of self-incrimination. I don't think there's any case out there, but I don't know that for sure.
All right, let me see if she's logging in on the phone. Somebody's logged in on the phone. Let's see. Okay, Ms.
Hello?
Price. Okay,
Hello?
Ms.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with my phone.
Okay, hang
I
on.
don't know. I can hear all y'all, but y'all couldn't hear me.
No, you were breaking up very bad. So I'm going to have Mr. Trout ask his last question again, and then you can answer that. So, because we couldn't understand you. And
Yes.
you may have to turn your video off just to keep your audio strong.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Let's try it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mr. Trout, you'll ask your question again.
Yes, ma'am. I believe I asked, what was that incident about?
Okay, yes, sir. Anthony had my house keys, and I went to his mother's house to get them, and I called Destiny. Destiny said that he wasn't there, that he had left as soon as I dropped him off. So I was waiting right there. I kept calling him. Well, he said the keys are in my mailbox. Well, I was right there by the mailbox, and I checked the mailbox. There was no keys in the mailbox. As I was going to pull off, the white Chrysler had sideswiped me, and then I had called 911, told 911 that the car had sideswiped me, and she told me, don't follow them. And I said, well, they're already trying to take off. And then
Okay.
when we
All
got
right.
to
So, Your Honor, I object to anything further than that.
Okay. All right. Ms. Price, your attorney has got concerns about your Fifth Amendment rights, since this potentially could result in some sort of criminal charge. Until all that is resolved, you have a right not to incriminate yourself under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and under the Texas Constitution. So you have the right to decline to answer anything that might incriminate you. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trout, you can go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And you said you called 911 and the car started pulling off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you follow the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said kids were in child seats.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Your Honor, can I have one I want to vote on? This is Zoom, so this is difficult. I want to either speak to my client in private, or I want to object and stop any further questions about what happened after that. He can ask questions about the kids. I don't mind that, but I don't want to go any further without invoking the Fifth Amendment right here.
All right, let's talk with her in a breakout room real quickly.
Okay.
That's
Sorry.
fine, Judge. And I'm going to be moving on from that. I just wanted to clarify on those couple of things.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge, you still want to talk to her real quickly?
No, if we'll move on, it's fine. I just don't want her to go into any further detail, please.
Okay. All right, then.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Price, do you use drugs of any kind?
No, sir.
Marijuana?
No, sir.
Cocaine?
No, sir.
Have you ever tested positive for anything?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
I tested positive for a cocaine metabolite and marijuana.
Okay. And when was that?
I believe April 18th.
But your testimony is that you don't use?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you have any explanation for why those would have come back positive?
No, sir, I don't have an explanation because I was actually in the hospital the whole entire week because I was pregnant. So, don't know.
And are
But
you?
I do.
Are you currently pregnant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the father of that baby is Anthony Campbell, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Eldridge.
Okay. Kayla, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you and I talked about this. Have you had any other, you knew about this positive test. What did you do after that?
That same day that I was called about the positive mouth swab test, I had asked Elaine to bring another mouth swab test, that I would do another one. She told me that her supervisor advised them not to. Instead, I was sent for, I believe, a UA and hair follicle. I went to Care Express that same day and took them, and they both came back negative.
Okay. So the hair follicle test was negative. The day it came back positive on the swab.
Yes, sir.
And then have you been direct tested throughout your pregnancy, blood work, any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, sir.
Any of those come back positive?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you willing to go take a hair follicle and or urinalysis today?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you've had these safety plans and then you violated those. Why'd you violate them?
My first safety plan was for my kids to go with Dominic when the initial case was opened. There was a lot of conflict with the mother-in-law of Dominic, Melissa, and she had called me one day, told me that, you know, things were rough at the house where the kids were at. That same day, I had took a lie detector test at the police department, which came back that none of us were suspects in the child abuse case. And I went to go pick up my kids from daycare because Melissa told me that she was not going to get involved with CPS. She was not going to call CPS. And so I took my kids back. They called the police on me, and the police told me since there was no court order in place, I mean, that there was nothing that they could do. And then I was given another safety plan for the kids to stay away from my grandma and Anthony. And then I did break that one because I found out I was pregnant by Anthony. And then I had a safety plan when the mouth swab came back for them to stay with my mother. And we were at my mother's house, and my mom didn't know I was pregnant yet at the time. And she was asking me, you know, are you seriously doing drugs like cocaine and marijuana? That's serious. And I told her, I was like, no, you know why? Because I'm freaking pregnant. I'm not doing nothing, Mom. And she got in a big fight with me because I was pregnant. And she was against the fact that, you know, Anthony is Black. So she was already very upset about that. She told me I was pregnant with a Black baby.
Kayla, I have to break it up here. I'm supposed to ask a question. You answer the question. We can't just talk.
Okay.
So you agree you violated safety plans. Now this is different. Now this is a court order. The judge is going to tell you what services you have to do. You've done some services. Are you willing to do whatever services are asked at this point in time?
Yes, sir. I'll do whatever it takes to have my son's home. Yes, I will do whatever it is.
Okay. And so even if you're pregnant by Mr. Campbell, if he's not allowed to be around you, that means you can't be around him at all. You get that?
Yes, sir.
All right. You wanted to talk to the judge. So why is it that you want your kids? What are you asking the judge to do? Let me put it that way.
I just want my son, Devin and Dominic, both of them, to be able to come home with me where I feel like they belong. I know that I've broken safety plans, but I never had an intention when I broke the safety plan to harm my kids. I've never harmed my kids. I've never ever in my life harmed my kids. I've made mistakes and I've owned up to that, but I know what's best for my children, and I've told the department several times that I didn't have to listen to them, and now I know that it's very serious, and this is the repercussions from my own actions, but I really would just want my children to come back home with me.
Okay. Now, you brought it up a minute ago. There was some bruising on one or both of your kids. Is that right?
My son Dominic just had a little bruise on his back, but Devin, yes, he did have bruising.
Okay. Well, describe the bruising.
My son had two linear. Well, he didn't have linear. He had two round bruises, in just odd spots. He did have a bite mark on his face from my 2-year-old son, and some older bite marks that were healing on his back. My 2-year-old son has behavioral delays, speech delays, and cognitive delays. He is going to counseling with early childhood intervention, also a service provided by the department, which they were well aware. They knew of his biting problem, which has now gotten way better since way before all this has happened. But he was going through therapy and everything, and the department knew about him having a problem with biting, but it's not like the bites were unexplained.
Okay. So when you saw these bruises, these bruises have come up in this case, what did you do?
I sent Elaine a picture when my son got bit, and then when Becky came out, the day, I guess Monday, I sent him to school. I had a meeting with my older son's teacher, my 2-year-old son's teacher. I told her if he's being bad, what's going on at school, because he's starting to bite again at home, and it had been a while since he bit. And they said no.
Kayla, so I'm kind of medically, what did you do?
I took my son to the hospital. Yes. When he had the scratch underneath his eye, yes, I took my son to the hospital.
Okay. And has there been any sort of doctor that has said that these bruises were inappropriate for the kids that your children?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Did you cause the bruising, or any adult cause any of those bruises?
No, sir.
Okay. These are just kids. I mean,
Yes,
you got a biter, I guess, but other than that, kids being kids.
Yes, kids being kids, normal childhood activity.
All right. Okay. And so you've completed one set of parenting classes, right? The entire
Yes, sir.
That's the Hope Choice. You fully completed that one, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're in the middle of working on the Love and Logic. You don't know how many.
I don't know how many I took, and I don't know how long it is. I think that they just told me till whatever CPS says I'm done. So I have missed some. But you can always jump in on the next class and make it all up. I have been completing them though. It's just at an odd time in the night.
And you're going to complete that, is that right? You don't
Yes, sir. I'm going to continue to take them. Yes, sir.
All right. The counseling with Christy Paddock, you've done 3 of 6 of those, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
So why haven't you finished those, and when can you get them finished?
She was just on vacation. I'm just waiting for her to she said that since she was filling back up everybody that she had missed while she's out. So I'm just waiting for her to get back to me with the schedule.
Okay. Where do you live?
I live at the Glenwood Apartments.
Okay. Has CPS been able to get into your apartment, take a look at it?
They've come to my apartment several times.
And you'll allow them access to your apartment?
Yeah, they can come here whenever they want. I've told them that several times.
Well, you've refused it before as well, right?
There was maybe a couple times I did refuse it before, but that's when they were trying to remove the kids. They came with the cops and all that. And I talked to the officers on the phone. The officers called me and they let me know what was going on. And I told them if they feel like my kids are being neglected,
non-responsive.
All right.
Yes.
But my point is, you have to let them into your apartment. You can't say no, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other services the judge says you do, whether you like it or not, you're going to do those, right?
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, are you asking for your kids to be returned home while you complete your services?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Sapien, any questions?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Ms. Price, do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for work?
I now just started working at Caprock Home Health. I'm a caregiver.
Okay. And what is your schedule at Caprock Home Health?
Right now it's from 8:15 a.m. to I work till 11:45, and then I have another client only on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 12:15 to 2:45. After that, I'm off.
Okay, so if the children were returned to you, who would watch them while you were working?
I can, I've also let my job know about the situation. So until I could get them back into daycare, I would just stay home with them. Previously, they were going to the Wesley Community Center before removal.
And Mr. Dominic Cervantes is the father of which child?
He's the father of Devin Cervantes.
Has Mr. Cervantes been involved in Devin's life since he was born?
Yes, ma'am.
Has he consistently been around the child?
Since all this stuff has happened with the safety plan, no, he hasn't been able to be consistently around them.
Before CPS became involved with your family, was Mr. Cervantes involved with his son?
Yes.
Did he provide support to you in any way?
Yes, he paid child support, but that he recently got a job that took it out of his check, but he would buy stuff for them. And
if the judge names the department as temporary managing conservator today, do you have any concerns about Mr. Cervantes having supervised visits with your son?
no, he's already had supervised visits with my son.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Ms. Price, you talked about some bruising on Devin. Isn't it correct that he's had multiple bruises over multiple months?
Yes, ma'am, but he also has several incident reports from both daycares. He got hurt a lot at daycare, but the bite marks, yes, he's had several, not several at a time, but he's had a bite mark here and there. And Devin has a low platelet count, which also causes him to bruise fairly easily.
Was there ever any explanation as to the multiple linear bruises on his back and side?
Are you talking about Dominic Jr., not Devin? Junior had the linear bruising on his back.
Sorry, you are correct. Yes. Was there ever any explanation as to that?
No, ma'am. Me, Deborah Price, and Anthony Campbell, we went to take a lie detector at Amarillo Police Department, and we all passed the lie detector test. But to this day, I've had no contact with my grandmother because she was supervising him at the time, and I still don't have a clear explanation of what happened.
Without going into detail at all about the incident with the car, do you believe you acted appropriately at that time?
No, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Trout?
Ms. Price, you just answered that you didn't believe you answered appropriately. Is that correct?
She said if I acted appropriately.
Yes. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Had you already taken some of your parenting classes at that time?
Yes.
is part of parenting classes how to correctly parent and appropriately handle situations with the children?
Yes, sir.
Did you learn anything from that class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And yet you still admittedly acted inappropriately in this situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing.
Mr. Vaughn?
No further questions.
Okay. All right. Mr. Trout, you can call your next witness.
Call Dominic Cervantes, Your Honor.
And Your
Yes,
Honor,
sir.
if you could please admonish my client as to his Fifth Amendment rights also.
Okay,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Mr. Cervantes, you there?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right. You understand you have certain constitutional rights to not incriminate yourself in anything that would have to do with the criminal case.
Of course, yes, ma'am.
Okay, you understand your right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if at some point in time you wish to invoke that right, you just need to let me know, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Cervantes, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Dominic Cervantes.
And you're the father to Devin, is that correct?
Biologically, yes, but I'm the father to both of them.
Okay, but biologically,
Yes,
you're
biologically, yes, Devin.
Okay. Are you currently on deferred probation out of Carson County?
Yes, sir, I am currently.
And is that for possession of a controlled substance?
Marijuana pen, yes, sir.
Okay. And you received 3 years deferred on that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when did that start?
I'd say about 6 months ago. Honestly, I couldn't really tell you.
Does
How long it's been?
Does February 13th of 2024 sound correct?
I couldn't say if that's correct or not, because like I said, I don't know when it started,
Okay.
but I know I haven't been on it long.
Okay. Are you also on bond out of Randall County?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is that for a domestic violence case?
Yes, sir.
And that is a felony domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is there also do you also have a charge pending out of Potter County?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. One second, Your Honor, I'm sorry. You're not aware that there's currently a case, a misdemeanor terroristic threat with Miss Price named as the victim?
Yes, that was supposed to be taken care of with the last case that got dismissed about everything, but my lawyer is still trying to figure it out. So
Okay. But you are aware you have that case?
well, now that you mentioned it, yes, like now that you said what it was, yes, sir, I do.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge,
I don't have any questions for Mr. Cervantes, Your Honor.
Ms. Sakin?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Cervantes, are you currently working?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you working at?
I'm self-employed. I do like odd jobs, concrete, flooring, tile, walls.
How often do you work?
Well, I'd say majority of the week.
And do you agree with Ms. Price that you provide support for Dominic?
Yes, ma'am, no doubt. And Evan.
Were you present for Ms. Price's testimony?
Yes, ma'am. I heard what she was talking about.
Okay. And where do you want your son to be?
I mean, I would want him home. I understand, his mom don't make the right choices every now and then, but she is a good person, so like.
When you say you want him home, are you saying with you or with Ms. Price?
I'm saying whatever is best in the court's eyes for them to be home. And I'm not just talking about Devin. I understand Devin is my biological kid, but I'd want both of them.
You want the brothers to remain together?
Dominic Cervantes Jr., yes. Yes. And it's not even just that, they're brothers, like you said.
If the court finds today, Dominic, that there is a continuing danger to the children, are you willing to work services?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And would you like
I work services with both of them?
Okay, would you like to have visitation?
Yes, ma'am, with both of them.
And do you understand that will probably need to be supervised?
I mean, that's fine for the time being. I understand, there's stipulations for that, but like, I have nothing to do with anything she was talking about.
Okay, and that's my next question.
I've been blindsided with this too, so like, I'm upset about it, but at the same time, my kids don't need, they don't need to be taken.
So in regards to the allegations of this CPS case that you have heard today, you haven't committed any of those offenses against the children. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. It's all love and care for them when I got them.
Any of the charges that Mr. Trout talked to you about, do any of those charges involve your children?
No, ma'am.
Do they involve anyone else's children?
No, ma'am.
Are those charges in relation to adults?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn?
I have no questions at this time.
Good. All right. Mr. Trout?
I'll pass this witness, Your Honor. No further questions.
Okay. Anybody else have any further questions for Mr. Cervantes?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Go right
So,
ahead.
Mr. Cervantes, you were saying, I believe, that Miss Price is a good person. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yes, sir. That's what I said.
Okay. And would you consider her to be a good mother generally?
For the most part, yes. I mean, I know when the kids act up, they need a little stern discipline, which, however y'all want to see that. But she don't, and yeah, she's a good mom.
When you said you want them home, what you meant is you want them home back with her, but you don't want to lose your visitation. Isn't that what you were saying?
I want them home either with her or me.
Okay.
Both of them.
All
and
right.
if she has a better chance of getting both of them, then of course.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about your kids if they're returned home with Kayla?
No, Your Honor, just as long as I get my rights as a father.
Okay. I mean, do you have any concerns about Kayla hurting your kids or doing anything damaging to your kids if the kids are returned home to her?
Kayla's never spanked them kids. I don't think she'll hurt them. And I think the stuff that happened with Dominic Jr. was a dog. That's just me believing what I believe. But you know, they made a big deal about it. I had to take them over. So like, it's just, you know, it's all messy, all of it.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So that's all I have, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness. And I'm sorry about my phone. I didn't realize it was on. I got it off now.
Oh, no problem. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Cervantes?
I have just a couple, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Cervantes, and in saying that you would like the children with you, do you
Yes,
have a home?
Currently, no, but I will, you know, in like within 2 weeks. Maybe
Okay.
just this week. Yeah, probably. I could tomorrow.
Are you living with someone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who are you living with?
I'm living with my brother, Sergio. I don't know the direct address, but I know it's off of Roberts.
Okay, and that's okay. I don't want the address. We're on YouTube, so don't give that out.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness. No further questions.
Mr. Cervantes, I want to just ask you a couple of questions. You are the father to Devin, correct?
Biologically, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you are not the biological father of Dominic. Is that correct?
You couldn't tell him that, but yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, I mean, you acknowledge that there is someone else who is the father of that child.
I mean, obviously, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Just wanting to make sure that all that was
He's
clear.
still my son, though.
I mean, I understand your relationship. It's not that. It's a legal thing that I'm asking about. So, okay.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Cervantes?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Couple of quick questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Mr. Cervantes, you said that you live with your brother
Yes,
currently.
sir.
Does he have any criminal history or CPS history?
I don't think that has anything to do with regulations on the case now, like any of that.
Objection, Your Honor. Non-responsive.
You need to let him finish and answer his question, sir.
Are you personally aware of any criminal history or CPS history that your brother has?
No, sir.
As far as what is your relationship like with the mother?
We co-parent.
Okay. Do y'all get along?
Of course.
Okay. The charge we talked about earlier, pending out of Potter County for the terroristic threat. Ms. Price is named victim in that case. You're aware of that.
Okay.
Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of what the charging language says, the allegations are?
I'll talk to my lawyer.
Okay. Do you know what the charging language says?
It's a terroristic threat. It's a misdemeanor.
Yes, sir. Do you know what it alleges you did?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
Well, whatever the report says.
Are you aware that it says that the charging language alleges that you
I'm aware of all of it, sir.
okay.
Those are just words.
Okay. That it says
Yes,
that
sir.
you threatened to shoot or kill Kayla Price?
Huh. Never that.
Are you
Like I
aware?
said, those are just words, allegations. He say, she say type thing.
Objection,
So you know how that
Judge,
goes.
non-responsive.
None of that.
I'm sorry. Okay, listen closely to his question. Okay, Mr. Trout, repeat your question again.
Are you aware that that is what the charging language says?
I'm aware of it.
Okay. And you and Ms. Price, you say co-parent. But
Yes,
I
sir.
asked, what is y'all's relationship like?
She might be mad that I got another girl pregnant. So, I mean, of course, she's gonna hold a little grudge, but it's none that serious where our kids are in danger of any type.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
I don't have any further.
Anybody else have any questions for him?
No.
No questions.
Okay. All right. Mr. Trout, call your next witness.
Elaine Lucero, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Lucero, if you'll unmute for me. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You may proceed.
Ms. Lucero, would you state your name for the record, please?
Elaine Lucero.
And Ms. Lucero, how are you employed?
I'm employed with the Department of Family and Protective Services in their FBSS area.
And are you familiar with the cases we're discussing today involving Dominic and Devin Cervantes?
Yes, sir.
And how are you familiar with those cases?
I was assigned the case to be an FBSS worker on it
Okay.
after the investigation was complete.
Okay. And did you also actively work on the investigation that led up to the removal?
Yes, sir.
You've been here for the testimony we've been taking, correct?
Yes, I have.
And so during the FBSS case, Mom had testified a while ago that she broke the safety plans. Is that correct?
Yes.
And would you tell us what those safety plans were?
The initial safety plan that was put in February the 5th during the investigation was that Kayla had requested that the kids be placed with Dominic and his girlfriend. That was actually put in on the 5th of February, and on the 6th I got a phone call from law enforcement saying that they thought the kids were kidnapped. At the time it wasn't, it was a safety plan, and so she had went into the daycare. She was supposed to be having a visit with the kids. That's what the daycare was thinking. And she went in and took both of the kids out of the daycare. And so that was the initial safety plan that was broken. The second one that was put in was the first contact that I had with Kayla out at her residence. Whenever I arrived to the house to visit with her, Anthony was in the home. There were 2 other males also in the home, and the home smelled strongly of marijuana. There was a marijuana pen and like a jar of like marijuana dab oil on the counter. And at that point I explained, that he could not be in the house and that him and his friends needed to leave. She signed a safety plan that he wouldn't be in the house. And unless he was going to cooperate with us, do some classes. I had tried to meet with him the following week and he refused to meet with me. So at that point I explained that he was not to be in the home. I continued to get reports throughout this case that he was in the home, and she denied it up until I finally caught them picking up the kids at the daycare together. And so there had been multiple sightings of them at the daycare and in various places. And so we knew that she was breaking that safety plan.
Okay.
The third one that was put into place was after we received concerns that the kids were showing up to daycare smelling of marijuana strongly, to the point where they asked for none of their belongings to be brought anymore to the daycare. And they had tried to wash their blankets because they smelled so strongly. And so at that point we did do a random oral swab that was taken on the 18th. And so when that returned on the 23rd of April, Kayla did return positive for cocaine and marijuana. So on that date, we did ask for her to be safety planned at her mom's house with the children. We didn't ask for the children to stay there. We asked for her to be supervised. She agreed to it. She signed it. Her mom signed it as soon as I left the residence. about a couple hours later, her mom called me and told me that she had taken off. And so that was the third safety plan. And then the family agreement was there was an intake at the department involving Dominic, the father. So there was concerns with the kids having contact alone with him. And so we asked Kayla to sign a family agreement that he would have visits at the office. At that point, she had said she wasn't having any contact with him because of his aggression towards her. And so she wouldn't allow him to take the kids. And if he did, that she would contact me. Following that, we received information that he did have the kids the weekend of April the 23rd over the weekend. And then also the incident that occurred with the car, Dominic did inform one of the workers at the department that he had picked up the kids following that incident. So we have a couple of times too showing that that was also not followed.
Okay. Did you discuss, were you present during discussions of, with mom as to the incident involving the car?
Yes.
Okay. What did mom state about that incident?
She denied that it happened the way law enforcement, the report that law enforcement had made, she denied that it happened the way they said. She did not just denied it all. She said that the kids were in car seats. She denied that the witnesses that were at the scene were lying. She said they were lying. Just basically denied what the officer attested to.
Okay. But did she admit to y'all that she had chased or followed the other car?
She said she followed, is what she said.
Did she state that 911 had told her not to follow the car?
Yes.
And she did anyway?
Yes.
Due to the long ongoing involvement with mom and the kids, we decided to remove, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And due to the multiple times of breaking safety plans, the family agreement, and the incident that happened with the kids in the vehicle, the department decide and ask for removal of the children?
Yes, sir.
And that's for the safety of the children right now?
Yes, sir.
And do you believe that that was in the best interest of the children?
I do believe so, sir.
We've talked about it, and you heard mom state earlier, she has completed some of her classes.
Yes.
And you would agree with that. She has done some of the parenting classes.
Yes.
And some of the counseling classes.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know how many classes were being required? So she did how many classes on the first parenting class?
So the first parenting class was 4 sessions.
Okay.
That was until we received another report. And at that point, we felt like more parenting needed to be taken. And so we did request that she go into Love and Logic, which is a 10-week course.
Okay. Is it 10 consecutive weeks, or do you mean one class a week for 10 weeks? What do you mean?
It's one class a week for 10 weeks.
Okay. And she, to your knowledge, she's done 2 of those. Is that correct? Or
the last that when I spoke with her, it was 2, and then she had missed one. I don't know how many she's done as of maybe the last couple of weeks. If she's attended those last 2, it's been about 4. Okay.
So at the most, she's not quite halfway, but right there around the halfway mark.
Yes.
Okay. And you heard her state earlier that she's done 3 of the 6 counseling with Christy Paddock.
Yes, that's what I
heard. Were there any other classes that y'all were asking for at the time, or is this just what she was working on?
At the time, no, that's what we had her working on. I don't know what the next plan of service is going to look like with everything that's happened.
Okay. But the department would be asking today, due to mom's behavior and the breaking of safety plans, you're asking the court to award temporary managing conservatorship to the department.
Yes, sir.
And for mom and dad to work services.
Yes, sir.
As to dad, to Dominic, We have the name Francisco,
Yes.
is that correct? Have you ever had any contact with him?
No, we've made several attempts, but we have not been successful.
Okay, and can you tell me his full name? Do you know?
It is, his last name is Armenta, I believe.
So Francisco Armenta?
Yes.
Okay. Have you run any searches on him to try to find him?
There was a clear search that was done, and there was a letter that was sent out to residents, to the last residence that he was at. We haven't received a response.
Was that in this state?
No, it was in Kansas.
In Kansas. So we believe that he's possibly in Kansas,
Yes.
or was at one time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you talked to mom about him, and does she have any contact information for him?
The times that I've spoken with her about him, she said that she's had no contact with him.
Okay. And so, but you have run some searches and are still actively trying to find out where he is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as far as Dominic Jr.'s case, or Dominic's case, you're asking for a temporary managing conservator of him also, and for mom to work services and dad, if we can find dad.
Yes, sir.
And you believe that's in the best interest?
I do believe so. Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge?
Okay, Mr. Lucero, just up front, the safety plans were voluntary agreements, correct? She wasn't, my client wasn't ordered to do anything at that point in time, is that right?
Yes, they were agreements between her and the department.
All right, and there's, it looks like two of the safety plans involve marijuana, one by Mr. Campbell, and then one where the kids smelled like marijuana, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my understanding is Mr. Campbell wouldn't do any services, so you don't have any information whether he tested positive for marijuana or any other drugs. Is that right?
No, sir. He drug screened for us towards the end.
He did drug screen?
Yes, sir.
Was he positive or negative?
He was positive
For marijuana or what?
for marijuana.
Okay. He wasn't positive cocaine, methamphetamines, none of the hard stuff?
No, sir.
Okay. And then I know that you did that swab on Kayla, but then she did a UA and a hair follicle after that, shortly after that, right?
That was 5 days after the oral swab.
Okay. And what were the results of those?
Those were negative.
Okay. So the swab was a false positive then, correct?
I can't attest to that. I'm sorry.
Well, the hair follicle is the most thorough test that you have, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And it goes back several months, isn't that correct?
Yes.
So if the swab was different than that, then the swab had to be wrong. Either the swab is wrong or the hair follicle is wrong, correct?
That would have to be a question for the lab, sir.
She's been negative every single time you've asked her to do her hair follicle test, hasn't she?
I've asked her once. I don't recall.
Ma'am, objection, non-responsive.
Okay, I mean, you've answered just once, so, all right.
All right. Has she taken any of the UAs?
Yes,
And what were the results of those?
they were negative.
Okay. So she's not using drugs, is she?
I can't attest to that. All I can attest is
Based on the results of your drug test, she is not using drugs, is she?
the oral swab was positive, so
And the oral swab was wrong, correct?
again, that would have to be a question.
Objection, argument, the witness is unresponsive and argumentative. I would ask the court director to answer the questions.
Well, I think she's trying to answer it, Mr. Eldridge. I think she's answering that she doesn't know. I mean, she
Well-
is qualified to interpret that. She's not qualified to give an expert opinion.
I think she's being very disingenuous and not being responsive to the question. She knows that my client is not using drugs based on the several tests that she's passed, including a hair follicle test. It's very clear she's not using drugs. Anyway, I object to her entire testimony if she's not going to be honest and upfront with the court.
Well, Mr. Eldridge, I mean, if you want to ask her opinion, whether or not she thinks that your client's using, but I mean, when you're asking her in the context of the testing, I mean, I think all she can do is say, well, this has been positive and this has been negative. So,
well, she's leaving the impression, well, the swab was positive. Well, the hair follicle taken right after that was negative. So she's alluding to the fact that she's using drugs. And anyway, I'll ask it in the opinion format. Yes, ma'am. Can I go ahead? May I proceed?
absolutely.
Okay. Ms. Lucero, in your opinion, is my client using drugs?
I would opt to not give an answer on an opinion.
Ms. Lucero, just answer what you think. It's just strictly that. It's just your opinion. That could be based on the cumulative times you've met with her. Has she appeared under the influence? Has she not appeared under the influence? Has she always, been able to talk rationally? I mean, your opinion could be based on a wide variety of exposures and experiences with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't just strictly limited to, he's asked you about the drug test. We all understand. We had a positive oral swab. We've had a negative here. But as a caseworker, I think, he's entitled to ask you for your opinion just based on your experiences with this person.
Well, in my opinion, at the beginning, I was concerned because when I went to the house, it smelled strongly of marijuana. And then after the fact, I wasn't really concerned until I started getting reports from the daycare that the kids were coming smelling like marijuana. So at that point, I didn't know who or what. So, I mean, I can't really say yes or no, like across the board that I was for sure she wasn't, or I was for sure that she was. Now with the drug screens we have a positive oral and then we have negative UA and hair. So, I can't really say. All I can say is the facts, which are the drug screens. That's it.
Okay, that's fine, Your Honor. I'll move on. How about the children? Have the children been tested?
Yes, they have.
And what were the results of their test?
At this point, those results are pending. I checked right before the hearing to make sure we didn't have them.
Okay. Do you have any positive tests for the marijuana or for the drug test for the kids?
No.
All right. And so basically your most of your case is based on hearsay evidence about marijuana, and my client's proven she's not using marijuana. Isn't that correct?
Those aren't the only concerns, sir.
This was most of them, though. You're going off hearsay from the daycare. You're going off one visit with Mr. Campbell. Mr. Campbell may be using marijuana, but my client's not. And there's nothing that shows that anybody has used marijuana around those kids either. Isn't that correct?
Until we get the drug screens back.
Right. There's no evidence right now today that there's been any proof at all that anybody's used any marijuana around those kids, right?
No.
You've made up your mind on this case. You want these kids removed. You don't like my client, do you?
I don't think that has anything to do with the removal, and it's not based around marijuana. There's a lot of other concerns that we've had throughout the case.
Okay, let's talk about the car incident. The car incident, everything you know about it is based on hearsay. Is that correct?
It's based on the police report.
All right, and let's talk about the police. Was she arrested for child endangerment that day?
No.
Okay, the police were there. They investigated. Has she been arrested for that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so on the day this all happened, was she given a ticket for not having the kids in seatbelts?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So the law enforcement officials that investigated this incident that were there when it happened didn't see a crime related to these children, did they?
I believe they did. Otherwise, they wouldn't have called in a report.
She wasn't arrested, was she, ma'am?
No,
She hasn't been charged, has she?
no, I don't believe so.
It's based on smoke that you're using to remove these kids.
I don't believe it's smoke if a police officer makes a report and calls in a report to the department.
Okay. If there were a crime, she would have been arrested, correct?
Calls for a legal, Mr. Elliott, that calls for a legal conclusion.
And Judge, I believe Ms. Lucero has also already testified that mom admitted to the incident to her. So it's not just the police report. It came from testimony and statements from mom also.
Right. She admitted to following another car. That's correct. That's not a crime. It's not grounds for removing of the kids. Anyway, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. This witness is clearly not objective, and she's got a lot of power in this case that I just think is unfair for my client.
Okay, anybody have any further questions for Ms. Lucero?
I have not questioned her yet, Your Honor.
You may go right ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lucero, have you ever investigated a case after a report was made by the police that did not result in a removal?
Yes,
At the beginning of your contact with Ms. Price, were the children placed with my client, Dominic?
yes, there was a safety plan.
Okay. And at that time, was he already on probation out of Carson County?
Yes, I believe so.
And was the charge in Potter County already pending?
I'm not sure. I believe so.
Okay. So even though he's on probation and had some pending charges, the department still believed him to be safe?
Yes, during the investigation, they did, because he was not, I guess policy states that with him not being a perpetrator in this case, then the kids had the opportunity to go with him.
Okay. And then when Ms. Price violated her safety plan, that's when they were taken from Mr. Cervantes. Is that correct?
Yes, she went and picked them up and refused to take them back to his home.
Are you opposed to the children residing again with Mr. Cervantes?
At this time, yes.
And why is that?
There was an intake the department received on March the 29th involving Mr. Cervantes and his current girlfriend.
Was the child removed in that case?
I don't believe so.
And just to clarify, I believe you testified to this a second ago, but he is a non-offending parent in this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was one other thing I wanted to ask you. It has slipped my mind, so I'll pass the witness. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I recall my question.
Good.
Ms. Lucero, if the department is granted temporary managing conservatorship, are you able to say whether Mr. Cervantes would be allowed visits with both of the boys?
I believe, I'm for sure with Devin. I don't know what the legal part of that would look like. I guess that would be a question for Judge Baker. I'm not sure.
If the judge were to order those visits, would they be allowed by St. Francis?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Lucero? All right. Okay, Mr. Trout, any further witnesses?
Sorry, Judge, I was muted. I got just a couple more questions for Ms. Lucero real quick. Ms. Lucero, is the pending drug screen on the boys the only time they've been screened?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's not been any screams prior to it, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And concerns in this case, there's concerns for the possible marijuana use around the boys.
Yes, sir.
There's concerns that throughout different stages in this case, there have been some bruises that have been explained, some that not so much explained.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's concerns of the incident with the car, regardless of whether there was charges brought, there was an issue that happened that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the boys were present for it.
Yes, sir.
Concerns with Mr. Cervantes, he's on probation for drugs. He's on bond for a domestic violence case, and he's on has a pending case for terroristic threat against the mom. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Due to those factors, is that why the department decided to ask for removal?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And that is why, to work out the issues with parents to be able to get the children back into the home. Is that what the goal is?
Yes, sir. That is.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the kid?
Yes, sir. I do.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Anybody have any other questions for Ms. Lucero?
No questions, Your Honor.
Just, I have one, Your Honor. I have follow-up.
Sure.
So, Ms. Lucero, is there any indication that the bruising, I didn't talk about the bruising, any indication that my client caused any of those bruises?
No, sir. Not at this time.
Has anybody been charged with anything related to those bruises?
No, sir.
And those bruises have been explained, and a doctor has looked at those bruises and found nothing inappropriate. Isn't that correct?
Our FACN doctor looked at the bruises and she concluded that they were from abuse caused with an object.
Any idea where it came from? The daycare, the grandmother?
No, sir.
No idea, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Isn't the real reason for removal here is my client was obstinate, which I promise I've taken care of that. But she was obstinate in the beginning, and you guys don't like her, and these little things you used to remove her kids. Isn't that correct?
No, sir.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Lucero?
Your Honor, I wouldn't much say it's a question. It's a statement, really. I mean, my boys, they are rough.
Okay, sir. Hang on just a
Two
second.
boys.
Hang on just a minute. That's kind of not how this works. So if your attorney wants to call you as a witness, and get into some of that, then that's fine. But you don't get to just kind of tell me what you want.
I thought, any questions, anything like that. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's just not how.
To talk to my lawyer.
So yeah, if you want to talk to your attorney, I'll certainly put you in a breakout room so you can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see. Sapien, I'll put you in room 2. So, Mr. Cervantes, you're going to get a prompt.
Yes, ma'am.
To go to room 2, and you can say join, and then you can talk with Miss Sapien. Okay, everybody else just take a break.
A few minutes later.
All right, so first thing first, anybody have any other questions for Ms. Lucero?
No.
No question, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout, do you have any additional witnesses to call?
No additional witnesses, Your Honor.
Department arrest?
Department arrest.
Okay, Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. I will briefly call my client, Dominic Cervantes.
All right, Mr. Cervantes, you're still under oath, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. I just wanted to key in,
Let me ask you a question, Dominic.
Yes, ma'am.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Cervantes, since you last testified, have you been present for testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've heard the testimony regarding bruises found on your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you, as their dad, been able to observe them together?
Yes, ma'am.
And what have you been able to observe as to how the children interact together?
That Devin's trying to be like his older brother, you know. I mean, they're not much far apart from each other. So he is trying to catch up and be just like him. So, you know, boys being boys, I mean, no, of course they're roughhouse or whatever, but we are there to stop them and tell them like that's enough, you know.
Okay. So you've observed the brothers kind of wrestle around?
Yes, ma'am.
And when that is occurring, are you or Ms. Price there to prevent any serious injuries to the children?
Of course.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Strout?
I have no questions for him, yeah.
All right. Mr. Eldridge, any other questions?
I'll ask Mr. Cervantes a quick question. Mr. Cervantes, do you believe that Miss Price has physically abused either one of those boys?
No, sir. I couldn't even lie about it, even if I wanted to. I don't think she did.
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Mr. Cervantes, is it correct that Devin's have had multiple bite marks on his body?
Yes, ma'am, and I seen one when they were CPS brought me the kids. But also Devin is fighting a mutation that not much doctors know about. So, you know, I can understand him getting easily bruised, and, you know, he is clumsy. So if he falls and hits or a toy falling, he might be able to catch a bruise.
Okay, but bite marks wouldn't be something he causes himself, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And like I said, him trying to be like his brother, he might be trying to take the toy his brother got, or, you know, and Junior, of course, it's trauma on him because, you know, he don't have his dad no more. So, like, I could see it, you know, kids being kids, they're both boys.
So you think that's what the bite marks are, just boys being boys?
I mean, I wouldn't say just boys being boys, but I say that, you know, it has a little bit with like trauma wise, you know. I'm not gonna say that Junior dislikes Devin or they're always fighting, but you know how kids can get, especially if one's playing with something, the other one's trying to come take it.
Okay, Swins.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Cervantes?
No, yeah.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Eldridge, do you rest?
I do. We've been through everything backwards and forwards. I rest.
Okay. Ms. Sapien?
I'll rest, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Zavala, anything to present other than your recommendation?
No, Your Honor.
And do you have a recommendation to make?
Your Honor, at this time, it is my recommendation that the boys remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. However, I don't see any reason why we can't move very quickly to get them with one or the other of the parents and have the services worked. I don't see this as a case that would take a long time to get back on the right track.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to hold my decision until the drug tests come back on the children. I think that's a pivotal question today, whether abuse or neglect may have occurred with respect to the children. So as soon as the drug screens come in, I want those forwarded to me so we can take a look at that, and then I'll let everybody know what I'm going to do.
So, Your Honor, does that mean that we'll have another court date when their hair follicle test comes in?
No, there won't be another hearing. I'll make a ruling at that time and notify all the attorneys of my ruling. And if I decide to keep the boys in care, then, we will have subsequent hearings. If I decide not to keep them in care, then they'll be returned to you.
Okay, it's because I don't understand how the hair follicle test is taking so long if mine came back in just days, not even 2 days. I was told I had a negative result. Tomorrow will be 5 days since their hair follicle test.
All I can tell you is that if the tests are negative, they do usually come back faster. If they're positive, they do a confirmation on those, and so it typically takes a little longer. But we did have a holiday, during this week, so there could be other explanations for it. So, but as soon as those are back and filed, then I just need somebody to call it to my attention so I can look at them.
Yes, ma'am. We'll let you know when they are, yeah.
Okay. The only other thing that I will say, since, depending on what I ultimately decide, I may or may not speak to you and Mr. Cervantes again, Ms. Price, but,
Your Honor, may I speak before you do?
Nope. The only thing I'm going to say to both of you is, you've both engaged in some very immature behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, Mr. Cervantes, you have apparently engaged in some, violent behavior, which is very concerning. So, all I'm going to say is y'all better start getting it together, because you've got two wonderful little kiddos that need you.
Yes, ma'am.
And they need you to be grown-ups.
Of course.
So, Ms. Price, it's time to stop chasing people around because you're mad or you're jealous or whatever the reason is. You're angry.
Yes, ma'am.
When your kids are in the car. So
yes, ma'am.
That's behavior that could have had disaster written all over it. And quite frankly, you got really lucky that something bad didn't happen.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that.
So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you ask yourself if you've been involved in an accident and one of those children had been seriously injured or killed, is that something that you would have wanted to live with the rest of your life? And I'm not overstating that. Okay. I'll let everybody know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Everybody excused.
Everybody may be excused. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Dominic,
Judge.
I will call you when I have a ruling, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.